Hey, brain owners, it's Coach Jen. So today's topic is occupying the victim role. So let's be honest for a minute. We all like the victim role, and you can tell me that you don't. You can argue with me and say, no, Jen, I am completely in control of my life. I never play the victim. I'm good. No, I am in control. BS. You like the victim role. We all do, including me. When something doesn't go right, we race to that victim role. Who can get there first? And who's wronged us or who's done what to us? And the reason I bring it up today is because I've seen so much of it recently, and I just thought we should address it and be honest with each other about it. We like the victim role. Whether it be the end of a relationship or some coworker saying something snotty or, your kid being terrible to you or the Starbucks people not getting your order right. We rush to the victim role because we like to have somebody else be at fault when things don't go well. So here's what I have to say about this. We like it, and that's okay. But the thing is that living there, some people make an art form of living in the victim role. They will never, ever take responsibility for what they've contributed to the situation. And so those people are not the people I'm talking about. I'm talking about those of us every single day kind of doing our thing, being self-aware. Because I figure if you're watching this, you're probably, on that path of trying to be more self-aware and do some personal growth. So I'm not talking about those people who occupy the victim role all the time and their life is terrible and it's everybody else's fault. I'm talking to those of us who are trying so hard to grow and so hard to be responsible in our lives. Because I know that sometimes when something does not go my way, I am just annoyed and it's like somebody else's fault. Now, I will tell you, sometimes it is somebody else's fault. Like if I'm getting my venti honey citrus mint tea at Starbucks and you give me a peppermint tea, that's your fault. It's the barista's fault that I now have a not tea that I ordered. But it's what we do with it. And the problem is when we occupy that victim mentality, it's kind of like we can't do anything with it. And then we end up in sort of our emotional thought spiral. Like, oh God, my day's gonna go terrible because I didn't get my honey citrus mint or whatever it is. And so it's interesting because what I've seen lately is when something doesn't go well, we occupy the victim, but it's like we don't understand or we were not even willing to step back and look at the situation as a whole. It's got to be somebody else's fault and I did this or I did that and I truly tried and I did this and I did that and I really tried to be perfect and great and awesome, but they did this. Well, we're trying, but the problem is we don't step back long enough to look at the other person involved in this. They were trying to, and they were doing the best that they can with what they got. You're doing the best you can with what you've got, and so are they. So I think it's really interesting, and I wanted to kind of challenge you guys today. We like our victim spot. Absolutely, I will give that to you. We like it. But I'm going to challenge you today to stop and think when something's not going well or not going your way, or somebody hurts you or does something sort of icky to you, step back and realize that they're doing the best they can with what they got, and where they're coming from. I had a friend talk about this employee, a coworker that they work with, who is sort of one of those, I call them attention or not attention, information hoarders. And this person has all the information that my friend needs to kind of do her job. But she actually has information that everybody needs to do their job. But she kind of like gives it out in little pieces. She never just says, oh, yeah, if you're going to work on this, here are the 8 things that you need to know. She'll give people like 2 or 3 pieces. And part of it is when you step back and look at that, you kind of want to go, oh, well, she's just a horrible person and she should do. Yeah, but she's been burned. I guarantee it. And so a lot of times my guess is that when she was maybe starting to do her job and she was giving away all the information, that people burned her with it. It's because I'm not suggesting in any way or shape or form that people can't be horrible, because people totally can be horrible. But the thing is sometimes it's about you and the thought process that you have. How, when you're in a victim spot because somebody else has done something, how do you step back? How do you assess the situation? And how do you process and let it go? My friend and I walked through it and she was like, "Oh yeah, and I said, "Can you put yourself in her position? Why wouldn't she give you all the information that you need?" She's like, "Well, she's worked in this role for a long time and there's been a lot of people who've kind of come and gone, so she's probably a little afraid to share everything because, maybe she's worried about her job, or maybe she has had shared with somebody and somebody took advantage of that, and maybe they, got a promotion over her that she was interested in, but they used the information that she knew." People come from it in all different ways. The other place I've kind of seen it show up is, for adults, and well, teenagers and adults, and when we're dating, we start into this relationship with like the best of intentions. It's so awesome. We go out for a couple of weeks and we think it's going really well, and then the person does something that you think is probably super out of character, or god, they just like are, they lie or do something, and we're like, "Oh, he or she lied to me," and all this other kind of stuff. But then we like get in this thought spiral that happens, and it's the victim mentality of like, they did me wrong. Well, sometimes though, in all of us, we have such a hard time communicating what we want and how we feel and what we think. I mean, because let's be honest, telling someone how you feel, how you think impacts them. And so we kind of stop. We don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. So, like, if I'm dating you and all of a sudden I'm like, "Yeah, this just isn't really working for me," um, what? I'm going to just sit you down and be like, "Hey, I don't like you anymore." I mean, that hurts their feelings. So I think we do things sometimes and we end up, though, in the victim role when someone does something to us. And so, what I'm going to challenge you today to do is, when you are feeling like you're in the victim role, step back and see if you can't gain perspective of somebody else. Why are they doing that? And then the question for you is, how long do you sit and ruminate and move through those thought processes? Because I bet if you can step back, gain a little perspective, maybe have a little compassion, and not just for the person, but for yourself. Most of the time, we occupy the victim role because we don't want to look what's wrong with us. And sometimes, you guys, it has nothing to do with us. It's them. They've decided that this is how they need to be in the world, and you're just sort of a casualty of that. But how long do you hold on to that? And how long, are you able to step back and have some compassion and maybe gain some perspective with that other person? So that's it. We all love the victim role, but I'm going to challenge you today to try to figure out, how do you step back, gain some perspective, have some compassion, and see if you can wander yourself out of the victim role.